Hey there, I'm Laura A. Grace, and I'm a manga creator, but I'm not an illustrator. Welcome back to my video series of me sharing my process of writing my upcoming manga, Gathering Faith. I am so excited that you're here, and I want to do a shout out to everyone who's been commenting, sending me messages about the previous two videos I've done. You guys are so amazing, and I'm so very blessed by everybody's support. I was really nervous when I did last week's video, so I felt like I didn't have my typical excitement. So thank you guys so much just for your support and your encouragement. I'm really excited for today's video because I'm going to be sharing basically my whole writing process of Gathering Faith, at least in the beginning of like getting it down onto paper, typing it up, and all of those fun things. But I want to give a disclaimer before we keep going. So here's the thing about writing, and I've mentioned it before, everybody's process is extremely unique to their self. My process could look completely different from yours. It can look completely different from everyone's. But the thing is, as long as you, a writer, manga creator, find your process, embrace it. I will say it has probably taken me about 5 years to get to this point, maybe even longer. And those 5 years were really hard. It was full of frustration, of hurt, of bitterness, just a lot of different negative emotions during that time because I just couldn't seem to get my words out on paper. I could get them in my head, they could be all in my head, they could be really awesome in my head, but just getting them down, writing them was a struggle for, like I said, about 5 years before it just really happened. And it's really interesting because looking back now, my writing process then, I really compared to a lot of different authors and different writers because I was like, well, they know what they're doing. I don't. Yes, that may be true, but that does not discredit anybody, including your writing process. Never knock it. So looking back, I see that my actual writing style is very much like a light novel manga kind of writing style. I have always been very short on the details. I am zoning in on the conversation because to me, I didn't realize it back then, but I'm like, who needs to write a description and all these details when you can just show a really pretty illustration and it be even better than the description. Now, I love reading descriptions in books. I really enjoy that, but writing them is just a no-go for me. So I wanted to share that sort of disclaimer. This is just my process. This is my style and how I do my writing. If you do yours different, that is awesome and totally embrace that. Please don't be like me and spend 5 years trying to copy everybody else because they know what they're doing. You know what you're doing as well because you're writing your story the only way that you know how and the only way it's supposed to be written. And what I mean is even if you were to share your idea with me, if you were to share your idea with other people, nobody can write that story like you can because you're the one that came up with the idea. So even if you, like I said, share that idea with other people and you're like, hey, can you write this for me? It will not be the same vision and the same dream you had because you're the one that wrote it, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to be sharing my vision, I guess you would say, and my story, Gathering Faith, my upcoming manga that I keep talking about, that I've been gushing about. And it is basically a Christian, I think contemporary fantasy is the genre I finally have locked down on. Also, I would say allegorical because there are some meanings behind or symbolism behind certain parts of the story. I guess it'd be helpful to know what is my story or my manga about. And so basically is what can stop a call on someone's life. My main character, Maho Davis, super cool. I love her very, very much. She is aspiring to be a missionary. She's wanted to be a missionary and finally her dream is becoming a reality. She is standing in front of the Tokyo skyline in front of in this grain field. But the thing is before she can cross the threshold from the grain field into Tokyo, she has to face this monster that is in her path. And once this monster starts talking and refuses to let her pass, her dream basically seems to go up in smoke. So now Maho has to make a choice. Either she's going to listen to this monster and the things that he is saying, or she's going to gather her faith and fight back. Yes, that is my upcoming manga that I really love very, very much. And so the fun thing here is a little bit of backstory about Gathering Faith. Well, I should say before I started writing Gathering Faith, I really felt God was working on my heart with missionaries and missionary work, and I increasingly had a desire just to support missionaries and to learn about the Asian culture. And Gathering Faith definitely is a direct result of those things that I felt prompted on my heart, things that I was learning, and then just learning about Japan. It's probably very obvious that I love Tokyo, especially because I think all of my stories, except for maybe one, the location for a contemporary story, I should say, is always Tokyo or somewhere near Tokyo. I just love Tokyo, guys, so very much. But even before that, I should say, is one really interesting thing I learned about my writing process that I did not know is I write by hand. Like, that is my preference, and I happily blame one of my best friends, Noelle Nichols. You guys probably have heard me gush about her stuff and share about her stuff. She wrote Shadow's Hand, and she also has an upcoming manga, and sort of a spoiler alert, we are going to be like co-publishing together when my manga is finally ready. Hers is ready to go. She's being super patient since mine is not going quite as fast as I had anticipated, but that's okay. The manga is coming. Back to the story. She had came down to visit for the very first time. I had just finished writing Dear Author on my iPod on the notes. For whatever reason it came up, I'd asked if she wanted to read, or she had asked if she could read it because I had not even read it. Like, I had just finished the last letter, and I was totally nervous. She read it before I had even read my own rough draft, and it was interesting because she liked it. I think she really enjoyed it, but then she made a comment of, I think you should write these letters by hand. And I was like shocked, and I remember for I think like a brief moment, I was sort of like not happy because that means more work for me, and I was just like, they're done. So I took her words to heart, and after she went home, I thought a lot about those letters in Dear Author, and I decided to take her advice and write them by hand. That was one of the most life-changing things for my writing. Since I started writing by hand, that is when I have penned multiple stories. The only one that I can say that I have not written by hand was my poetry collection Team Lines. I wrote that on my iPod, but I've written down at least 2 to 3 manga. I'm pretty sure one of them is completely finished, but I have not typed it up yet. I have another one that I am writing that's not done, and then I have written part of another one, and then I also have Gathering Faith. I tried before this video to go and actually find the papers that I wrote Gathering Faith on, but I could not find them, so I'm not sure what I did with them. But I wrote the whole story down on paper just one night. I remember I had a conversation with my husband about Japan and about missionaries and about mission work. This story just rushed out of me. It just came so quickly and very strongly. I just was a happy, emotional writer at the end when I wrote the end, and then like the next day I went to type it. And it's funny because back then it was called Harvester. It was not called Gathering Faith. The title didn't change until I think after I started working with my editor. And I'm really excited, guys. We're going to have a video on working with an editor, especially when you're a mangaka. So I typed it up, and I thought it'd be really fun to just sort of show, like, I guess, not what it looks like per se, but just sort of how it evolved from them. Because when I wrote Gathering Faith, I wrote it as a short story. I didn't write it as a manga. I didn't do any kind of drawings for it or anything like that. Tried to be a lot better with this last manga that I've been working on because I learned a lot of good things from my illustrator and some pointers, and I'm sure I'll mention some in today's video, but we'll also talk more in detail about that later on too. So I guess with that, one thing I do want to mention is that, like, don't stress when you're writing your story, especially a manga, and you're like, this doesn't look like a manga. It doesn't have drawings. It doesn't have this or that. Well, the cool thing is if you're like me and you can't draw or you're not an illustrator, then that's why you're hiring an illustrator. They're going to basically help make your words shine the same way that they are in your head, because I could see my story very much as a manga in my head. But getting that out and like trying to storyboard was really hard, especially this first time. I did no kind of storyboarding, and I'm really excited too. Stay tuned in February, guys. We are going to be interviewing some awesome mangaka, and I am just so excited. I'm definitely planning to ask them about just advice concerning storyboarding, and there will be 4 to 5 different authors, and they're all from different like stages in their process. Some of them are just starting with their manga. Some of them are like a script writer. Some of them have already published a manga. I'm really, really excited. So when I share my story and just my process today, I unfortunately don't have anything about storyboarding. That is one thing that I definitely want to learn. And like I said, I've tried, even with like really rough drawings that I have, to do something for my Illustrator, because what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and go into a screen recording and keep talking and sharing with you guys so that I can show you like how basically my story changed from being a short story and turning into a manga. Are you guys ready? All right, guys, here we are. The like first script kind of thing, not even script, but the first story I wrote for Gathering Faith. This has been, I will say, after I've already had it revised, did my self edits, and went through an editor. But this is basically how I wrote it the first time. It's pretty short. It's only 5 pages long. It's almost 2,000 words. Short story. There's no kind of script. There's no kind of special formatting. So let's go in and look at the script that I had for Gathering Faith that I sent to my actual manga illustrator. So before I keep going, I want to give a shout out to my manga illustrator, guys. She is so patient and so kind. Basically, after we had been chatting, me and my illustrator, Laura, she was like, I can make your manga and do the storyboard with your short story the way you have it written, but she is like, look, it would be cheaper for you and easier for me if you can just break down your story into some kind of script. She's like, even if it's just pages, she's like, just having something that you're seeing will greatly help me. And not only that, she was like, if there's any illustrations or any pictures that you can include to help me see what's in your head, that would also make things go faster and it would be cheaper. So definitely keep that in mind when you were writing your manga. If there are pictures that you found online, save them. And I have that included in my own script that I'm going to share right now. I just had to share that before we kept going. All right, so back to my screen recording here. So I wrote her a note, just giving her some, things of like, I have notes in blue, memories of Maho in gray, and then I have like pages broken down with the color green because I didn't know exactly how to do the storyboard at that time. And so I sort of just broke it down by pages of what I thought it should be. It actually ended up being longer thanks to her. I also included the specs that the manga needed to be done. We will definitely have an entire video on that because that's a really big subject and it's super, super duper important. So now here I basically compiled all the images and the illustration or the commission you can see that I have right here on the left. This was done by Noah Well and Nichols. I included that as well as an outfit that I first saw Maho in and some shoes. Here's some more images that just sort of reflected the world of Gathering Faith, especially the grain field and then the Tokyo skyline that I was envisioning because it was really important to me that there be a pagoda. I don't know why, but that was really important to me. And there was another one. And so now we're getting to sort of what I did as a really loose script. And as you guys can see, this script is super, super loose. Now for this, I did try and do a little bit of research on doing script. And so I broke down when a character was talking, I tried to put the text in the middle so it would be really easy to see and then continue to break it down. And I also have some more illustrations. And one thing I want to say too, the reason I want to do a video about editing is because my editor was awesome and helped this guy right here, my villain, to be more villainous in the illustrations my manga illustrator did. Like, she really brought him to life. Thanks to my editor for sending that to me because she was like, this reminds me of your villain, and it was spot on. I was really, really excited. So as you guys can see, that script was probably not as professional as quote-unquote a professional script writer. That's okay. This was my first manga. It was such a learning process to sort of see like how helpful those details and yes, that description that I'm not fond of writing, but how that description really makes a difference and those pictures for an actual illustrator to see and visualize what we are actually visualizing, because there were a few panels that the places actually that I did not give any details that I was like, that's not exactly how I pictured it. And so I made sure to make a mental note of that, like, hey, you need to get more of those descriptions in there. And the awesome thing is, even though I'm not fond of writing a bunch of descriptions, like even just being straight to the point is more helpful than nothing. Having a picture is even better. And that's pretty much where I am with my manga. I did all of that. I submitted it to my illustrator, and sort of if any questions have come up, I have sent her other emails that I'm like, hey, I would like to add this. Like, I decided sort of later on after reading manga that I was like, hey, usually they have like an intro page where this story doesn't just like jump right in. That may not make sense, but when I was looking at the pages, I was like, okay, we have like sort of, actually, let me stop right there. Let me give an example. Hatsuharu. Perfect example. I have not actually read this manga, but I was flipping through it because I love the cover. And when I was flipping through it, I was like, look, we have sort of an intro page. The story starts here, but I would consider this to sort of be almost like a prologue because, yeah, technically you probably wouldn't have to read this page. I mean, you're probably going to read this page because it's the first page in this manga, but when you flip the page, well, you flip the page, you have this awesome, beautiful, like, chapter illustration. But when you flip the page past that, we finally actually get into like the heart of this story, or into this, more into the story after to the author's note. And I wanted that. I wanted that because I liked when we meet our character, he is really big, and I don't know, just everything just went together really well. So I added that sort of in a last minute kind of thing for my own manga because I was like, man, this could be a great lead-in to the story itself, and I absolutely loved the first page that my manga illustrator did. And which I will say, if you want to check out those first 5 pages, like the sketches, I have them over on my Instagram. You can go to my stories and I have it saved. I believe it's the very first one. It has a pagoda and it gives the blurb of Gathering Faith. And like I said, has the first 5 sketches of the pages. That doesn't include the page I just mentioned though, because that was added on, like I said, much later. And 2, because after I wrote Gathering Faith and such, and then I was thinking of pre-order goodies because those are really important, even for a mangaka. I know this from personal experience as a reader and as a writer. So I actually wrote a photo book, or I shouldn't say I wrote one, I designed a photo book. This here is my photo book. It's called Maho's Journal, and inside Look to Her Journey, I had to look at my own cover because I get journal and journey mixed up more often than I would like to admit. This is a free goodie for those subscribed to my newsletter. So if you'd like to see it and you like to check it out, all the pages, you can go sign up. I'm really excited for this. Basically, this is sort of just like it says, it's an inside look to her journey. It gives pictures of what I was sort of visualizing. Also, some fun little bonuses that, like one thing I've seen really popular that some of my writer friends do is include a writer's list. This is, yeah, songs to encourage me on my journey. And I did a playlist of some of her favorite songs that personally encourage Maho, and this is one of my favorite pages too. Once in a lifetime meeting, and that's a Tokyo or Japanese proverb. So if you'd like to get like an inside scoop more into my manga, definitely go sign up for my newsletter and go grab your free copy of Maho's Journal. I also have some mangaka and otaku sticker or digital sticker sets that are included. I hope that this video encouraged you seeing somebody actually write a manga who's not an illustrator. As you saw, I don't have any pretty pictures except for the ones over on Instagram that my illustrator did, not me. Even if you're like, I'm not familiar with script, I'm not even super familiar with manga, because when I wrote Gathering Faith, I had not binge read a lot of manga up to this point. Let me know if you guys have any questions, or if you're curious about like anything else involving the writing process of Gathering Faith. I would love to hear from you guys, and I really, really appreciate all your support. Stay tuned for next week's video. I'm going to be talking about my experience of working with an editor and why I feel it's important, especially for a manga. So stay encouraged, be encouraged, and keep writing your manga. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you don't miss our video next week. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!